Well, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, you don't know already. Welcome. And if you're back, hit the like button on the way in. I know I'm supposed to be doing Marvin Gaye. I need to get focused, y'all. But I had a question because it came upon my YouTube feed. Which is higher learning. How many people remember higher learning? Right? That was my jam. So I looked at the date, and that was had Omar Epps back in the day. Omar Epps was doing his thing. Okay, he was the young Denzel, starring in a lot of movies. Okay, so he was in this one. Regina King was in it. Ice Cube was in it. Busta Rhymes was in it. Of course, I'm dating myself, but yeah. So higher learning. I was like, oh, chill. I tend to like to go back and look at um either movies or listen back to songs that may or I know had an effect on me at some time, because those things, we may have been programmed, especially in our youth, and then we may have repeated certain behaviors unknowingly because these films or these entertainment, influenced us in such a way. So last night I said, let me look at higher learning. So if you have never seen the movie, very interesting. Um, but in the movie, there was an awkward moment where, Tyra Banks was in the movie. So there's an awkward moment where Omar Epps, Malik's character, is trying to talk to Deja, right? Which is Tyra Banks' character, and they're both at school on a track scholarship and la di da di da, right? But I was looking at the dynamics, and I'm looking at all of the things at that time that we didn't have, which were cell phones, computer chat rooms, the issues of WYD, internet dial-up was just coming in. So if you wanted to talk to somebody, if the male wanted to talk to the female, then you had to interface person to person for the most part. Okay. And although the introduction is awkward, expressing what it is that you want from the other person is awkward, uh, the environment forced we the people to have this awkward exchange in an effort to establish some type of relationship, right? um and so it got me to thinking, like, wow, when you look at the plethora of videos on YouTube and social media about relationship problems and this, I'm like, wait a minute, is it me? Is it because I'm paying attention now? Eh, or is it that there are people, seemingly a lot of millennials, because that's the question here, are obsessed in a way about relationships that I don't remember. I don't remember when I was younger. Like the ones that were 20 years ago would have been my age, they are obsessing to a new level. Like everything seems to be about relationships, why you can't get relationships, and I'm not saying that people in relationships at that time and times before didn't have issues. I'm saying I think that there are more complex issues because of the advent of social media. And it led me to another movie that's dated to the 90s, and I spoke about that before, which is Demolition Man, that highlights the fact that people are disconnected in relationships in such a way that everything is virtual. And so when Sylvester Stallone's character came from the past, and Sandra Bullock's character is telling him, we don't do it like that anymore. He's like, what? And she gives him this virtual interface that makes everything sterile. And when I'm looking at these two movies juxtaposed against one another, and then I look at today of where a lot of people seem to be struggling, I think these devices have adversely affected relationships as a whole. Not just man and woman relationships, period, right? They have given the public out, essentially, to navigate around the uncomfortable things and to passive aggressively engage without seeing how it affects the other person. Like, say, back in the day, if you were a bully, you couldn't be bullying behind the screen. If you were a bully, you were in front of that person. You had, if you were about that life, you had to say it to the person, or you had to say it to somebody who knew the person so that word could get to them. But that element is not there anymore. So somebody could be running off at the mouth, blah, 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 I said what I said, and they don't even ever have to interface with that person. And it emboldens keyboard warriors. It embolden men who would not on a normal day work up the courage to approach this woman through the DM system and the social media. It opens that door, but it also, from what I've observed and from what I'm listening, it causes a greater disconnect. So, for instance, I've heard them say, the younger generation say, a phone call is too personal. Like picking up the phone is too personal. Texting is more impersonal, and picking up the phone is too personal. I'm like, what? What? So now, before back in the day, a phone call was everything. What? Because you got to hear the person's voice, like the phone, like all of that excitement from that part of what we use to connect. They don't even use to connect anymore. Picking up the phone is too personal. And of course, this is general. This is just my observation on a lot of the issues that are going on. And I think one of the problems is too much technology, which negates the human interaction that is necessary to get beyond the uncomfortable parts and to embrace the learning process of getting to know one another. Right. And so if you can hide behind the keyboard and you can hide behind emojis, you don't even have to formulate full sentences anymore. If you look at the 70s, 90s, 60s videos about, Wonder Years, who remember Wonder Years? If you look at, all of these things when somebody had a crush or somebody meets somebody who they likes, that uncomfortableness, that those all of that stuff that you needed to go through to get beyond, if you're going to be in any communication with that person, is gone now to a certain degree. And texting is the mode, or one-way communications where you say what you have to say on your social media. You bang on other people who then you block off your social media so that they can't bang back. It's a lot of one-way conversation. If you notice these type of discussions, I always open the mic because, what's up with the one-way conversation? What's up with the one-way like people can't, to a certain degree, take criticism or feedback live anymore. I'm like, wait a minute, something weird is happening. If you can't take live feedback or criticism, I'm gonna turn off my comments. I'm gonna block you. You have to just be really ratchet and off the chain for me to block you. But what I'm realizing is that even the ones who are, quote, famous and social media viral and status and all this stuff cannot handle the actual ways in which humans interface, which is you speak, I speak, you did something. We cannot seem to handle that real time. It's a one-way conversation. I'm trying to find out where my text box went. True Diamond says, you had one male follower who I was engaged in the comment section about modernism and technology and how it has affected relationship. I think he red pilled. Oh yeah? I don't even remember because I've lost some along the way. You know what I mean? I try not to isolate anybody, but when people do either get red pilled or whatever they get, blue pill, green pill, I don't know. People tend to no longer be open to debate and discussion and exchange. And it has to be all of what I'm saying or else, so I think this is bleeding over into the relationship sector where, the women are complaining about being tired of what is it? WYD text, what you doing text. The men are not assertive anymore because they don't have to go out and hunt. They don't have to go out and pursue. They can sit at the comfort of their homes and scroll through Instagram or whatever their medium is to see who they're gonna. The most, in today's space and time, you just got to give a heart emoji. Like I see millennials and people breaking up because somebody gave a heart emoji or somebody put a certain type of emoji underneath somebody else's picture. I'm like, what is going on? You don't even have to find a person cheating. You don't have to find that the person was talking to somebody else no more. Like, you get to sit from the comfort of your home, you know what I mean, and decide that the person, I mean, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I'll put the link in the box. So that's my thoughts on that the accessibility of um the other gender, the easy access, I think to a certain degree, it has diminished the value. When something is plentiful, when something is abundant, uh, versus when something is rare, the value tends to diminish in the marketplace. Not to say that the value of the thing is no longer important. The value diminishes in the marketplace. Another thought that I had in recent times about why possibly some of these relationships are not even getting legs under them is because there's overexposure. There's too much information. TMI. I don't know. This generation has been far removed from TMI. And it's to a certain degree, it's not their fault because it is what they've been handed, but it's too much information. So there's nothing left to the imagination anymore. Everything is for the male to see, or everything is for the female to see. So there's no mystery anymore. There's no mystique anymore. Um, so and because of this is just my thoughts. This is my theories. Okay, y'all can push back if you want to. Because of the accessibility, the value has gone down. So a lot of women I see, men don't respect women anymore. What happened? You're just doing too much. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. He sees every part of the process. If the magician, and I'm not saying, but some women when they really appear, it's like magic, okay? But if the magician, if David Copperfield or whoever these magicians are, pulled back the curtain, right? Say you paid your $100 to go to see this magic show because you're wild and you're entertained and blah blah blah. And if they pulled back the curtain and showed you every trick, you would no longer want to go see the magic show. You don't want to see it anymore. Why? Because there's no more intrigue, there's no more mystique. There was a time, once upon a time, on the infamous words of my grandfather, once a back, there was a mystique about the woman for the man. He didn't really fully understand her. Um, you know, there was something left to be desired. But in today's space and time, all of that is being peeled away. All of that is being pulled back, and he's disenchanted. This is what I'm seeing from the 100 million videos about. I'm like, y'all don't get tired of talking about relationships. And if you focus so much on relationships, how are you relating when you can't even relate to yourself? There's more talk in certain segments of YouTube about what's wrong with relationships, what this other person is doing, what the other person is doing. I don't hear this much energy being put on self-development. If you focused on self-development, then you would be able to relate to the type of person you're looking for. But what we're trying to do is put all the energy in what the other person should be doing. And then we scratch our head when said person that we think we're supposed to be with manifests and we're not ready for it. I think there's madness going on. That's what I'm saying. Madness going on. But let me see here. True Diamond said, I think what happened to him, he used to like your page and content, but he was disagreeing with your current points of view. I think he said he was moving to Africa. Possibly. The thing is that as we grow and expand, there's some people who may be comfortable when I'm speaking about things that resonate. It's just like viewers and subscribers drop off when I talked about abortion. I mean, this is what I'm talking about when I say I can't necessarily placate to my audience, in the sense that the things that moving me, that I'm moved to speak about, I don't speak about because somebody's not going to like it. Now, if I misspoke, if I'm lying, if I'm misrepresenting someone, then the mic is always open. But if something now is going to shine the light on us, this is the same conversation with this relationship business. As long as you're shining the light on someone else all day, every single video, most of these people who are doing it don't even have relationships. So I'm like, what in the world? This is anywho. TMI. Yeah, TMI is too much information. TMI is too much information. True, as a millennial myself, I can say most of our generation takes social media so serious that it becomes an indication of real life. Yeah, I noticed that. But then, it's interesting. There was a girl on TikTok. I think she was a content creator from the continent, from Africa. And, when they go viral, or they're famous on social media, then they have these um, events where those social media personalities come to the events. And so she has millions of followers on TikTok, if I'm not mistaken. But when she appears at this event, no one comes to her line. And it went kind of viral, because it shows you that it doesn't always translate into real life. And because the virtual reality has merged so much with today's space and time, I think it's causing a issue with how millennials are relating, because they think, to a certain degree, they came up in a time where social media bled into their everyday life. So, like for us, it may have been, what's going on Martin, what's going on New York Undercover, what just happened on one of our whatever, right? And we're talking about what we saw on TV. They are able to, in real time, interface with one another, whether you know the person or you don't know the person. And now that there's no separation, it's hard, or harder, to relate in real time, where all of the other things come into play. That's just my observation. Who do we have in the spot? True Diamond, welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Mona. How are you today?
I'm all right. How you doing?
I'm fine. This is an interesting conversation. It's something I actually think about often, and why I actually love your show and try to catch it any time, because you actually are talking about things where you're getting our minds to go to think. But unfortunately, a lot of us, I don't know if your other viewers or followers can relate, but when we have these same thought processes, we don't have anyone to interact with a lot of times, just because that's how much relationships, conversations, normalcy has broken down, I guess everywhere, as you said. But the person that I was talking to was that I was talking about in the comment section was a male, and me and him was engaging in, again, that modernism. Now, he was a red pillar, but he agreed with me on some things, that it's modernism, and I pushed this point. The breakdown of relationships is modernism, meaning we have males and females wanting to live in this modern world, but then at the same time wanting some traditional things, but not willing to put in that work for those things, like commitment, love, understanding. It's just now everyone is existing. It seems like, to me, people are coming home to strangers almost, and it's like, it's strange and it's weird. But I've been seeing this trend for, I've observed it for quite a while, since, again, the technology, the computers, first coming in the home, messing relationships up. I had a situation with someone I was with a computer. I'm not going to go there, but that was part of the demise. So think about what we have now. People can have these secret accounts. People can even be living, listen, laying in the same bed with someone, doing something they ought not to do. It's just totally disrespectful. But I don't see that where it's changing. I don't see where it's going to stop. I don't see where it's going to end. It's just that for a person who's not interested in those type of relationships, you need to just be aware and know, I guess, the signs, see when someone is, detached, someone is not engaging, and then don't be desperate. I think that desperation is pushing people to even be in these types of relationships, knowing that they're not getting anything in return, but the little bit that they're getting in return is better than nothing. But I'm going to close with this. I was listening to one of those red pillars pages. Sometime I sneak on there to see the frackle bull they're talking about over there. But the man said something interesting. He said when he's on the dating sites, he does not even engage in chatting anymore. He said he goes right into giving the girls their personal phone number. That's the new trend. You give them your personal phone number just to go straight in, meaning I only want one thing from you, and I want to get it. If you don't want to give it to me, then I'm moving on. So what you're saying, I'm here to tell you, it's even more cutthroat than what you think. And that's it.
My goodness. My
Yeah,
goodness. Thank you for
it's
that.
even more cutthroat.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. The descent. the descent
It's
into
descent. Yeah.
it's a descent into the
Yeah.
abyss of
Yeah.
all
We're there.
things. In Yeah, we are there, and if
We're there.
and because I see there's no way in my mind, right, that day
Mm-hmm.
after day you obsess about relationships that you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
have. I don't understand
Yes.
it. Like, how
Yeah.
do you make 150 videos about
Right.
something that you don't want?
You don't even want. Yes. And that's
So,
something that, not
mhm,
mentioning any of these people's names, but from the woman sphere spot side to the manosphere side, I picked up an air of deception on both ends. And I said to myself, these people don't even want the type of relationships that they're promoting to you. It
right,
doesn't make any sense that we can get to this level of depravity. Like you said, we've sunk to an all-time low, that we can exist and live in a delusion. So my question is this: was that delusion already there, or what has caused it to go at supersonic speed to have us end up where we are now? And that goes back to your original point of what you said, technology, and then I added on modernism in the
yeah,
comment section. It's
yeah,
just taken us to a place that is just, it's not even natural. It's not even natural. The
right.
inability to not communicate, like, that's where we are. We have an ability. I mean, our brains and the way God made us is an ability to communicate. Now we're
Right.
at a point where we can't communicate at all. And again, for me, I find it so odd and strange, because I'm telling you, let's say it's people I know, even as acquaintances. Let's say I know them on Facebook. I've had people send me messages: hi, hello, how are you? Fine. God bless you. God bless you too. And see,
Right.
I'm so used to the game that I just go ahead and play it, and they know to leave me alone. But I picked that up a while ago, that people and their intentions are, I don't even understand the intentions anymore. I mean, I'm just
It,
like,
it,
it's just weird.
like you're saying, it's weird. I've tried when people do that to me, I actually engage with them, and then that makes them feel uncomfortable. Like, not just
Okay.
hi, hello, right? I actually engage, and then they go away, and you're like, wait a minute, you
Okay.
start
Okay. That's
talking, right? And
okay. I
then
don't even go there. I just
no,
do those one worders, like how they do me. I said
yeah,
just whatever.
I because it's like I said, it's a level of, from what I'm observing, a comfort in a one-way communication. For instance, there are a lot of
Mhm.
bloggers who give you all their business, their whole life. This is Amuna
Mhm.
when I scratched my toe, and
Yeah.
this is me when I had a
Yes.
fight, and they're telling you all their business. Yeah, let
Yeah.
somebody in the comment section say something.
Oh
You don't
boy.
need to be talking about, like, wait a minute. That's not how this works. If you put all
Right.
your business on Front Street, how
Right.
is it that you don't think that someone has the right to say
Mhm.
something? And that's where we are. Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Well, I stopped engaging with people in the comment section as much as I used to. I can write a whole book in the comment section, but I stopped that because I realized the very point you're making. And I would have to constantly remind people, you came in the comment section, that person stated this on a public platform.
Right.
Therefore, anyone has a right to comment, make an observation, anything they feel like that they want here. Don't try to stop me. But again, this idea, and again, is it because you lack anything in your personal life that you come in a comment section that's public? That's just like going to a public, someone's publicly speaking, or they said, come in here and voice your opinion, and no one can voice their opinion at the public speaking event. So it's like, why am I here? Honestly, these things have become a total waste of time. It's a one-way street. It is a
Yeah, it's
it,
a
it
one
is
way.
a one-way street. And I mean, I've had, again, I'm like I said, I'm engaging with people less because I see they can't deal with anything that is in the opposite of what they believe. And I believe that's part of, again, that delusion. Your real life is messed up, but because you can put the filters on, because you
Right.
got all your pages, because you don't have anyone personal in your life, confronting you in a positive or
Right.
negative way, that when
Right.
someone actually comes who is of sound mind, you cannot deal with that. And that's just, again, what we said before, that's just where we are. It's a lonely
And,
place sometimes for me,
and
because again, it's so many people like this that are just, faking and jaking, as they used to say, and just existing and lying to themselves, not wanting to grow even as a person. I don't want to exist like that. And I understand that yes, it's hard to form relationships in these times and days, but I'd rather go without them than to be fake and to be and not be in my true self. Because see, if you're not in your true self, that's when you walk to the beat of someone else's drum and not be your true self, not walk to the beat of your own drum, not have your own pure thoughts, not
Yeah.
express yourself the way that comes from deep down within. And again, I go back to why I like to come here to hear how you express ideas, how you say, oh, I just had this thought, and then you go ahead and share that with us. A lot of people reject that almost. And I think they reject how they personally feel about things because they're trying to follow the crowd. They actually want to fit in. They actually want to be accepted. But in this world, I mean, who is really going to accept you? Some of the most famous people in the world died miserable and alone and said that they regretted everything because
That's
they lived for someone else. They live for an image and not for the things that they loved and for who they really were inside. So for me, I'll pass. I'll pass.
I feel you on that one. It's true for those who just joined us. Welcome to the conversation. It's an open mic. The link is in the box below. We are listening to the voice of True Diamond, and we're just vibing right now on what's going on, how social media is affecting relationships, especially of the millennial. This is the other part that I wanted to add to it. As I was, like I said, if you didn't hear me earlier, I was looking at higher learning yesterday, and it brought to mind that back in the 90s you had to actually go talk to the person, or you would write a note, or you would tell your homeboy or your homegirl. Like, but that today is stripped away, and so the medium of communication is coming through the technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind
Mm-hmm.
of gives a buffer. It kind of gives a buffer, even if you don't want to talk to the person anymore. Block. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
delete. We have all the ability to recreate the narrative however we want. And like you're saying, it's making the people kind of weak minded to a certain degree,
Yes,
because
definitely.
you can't stand. Like, I see so many people I know who will pop all this half smoke on social media. You shooting in a random crowd. No, who are you talking about? Why don't you
Okay.
tag the person that you have a beef with?
Right. Right. Right.
Why do we
Definitely.
all, who are just minding our business, scrolling through, why do we have to read something and watch stray bullets go by? I mean, who's that for?
Right.
And it just allows for people to play games, which I think on a it, it it bleeds over into the interpersonal relationships. It bleeds
Yes.
over into why sometimes you can't find a proper mate. I think that, and Nasha's in the spot, that, and the fact that sometimes, for some reason, this generation said, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to go get the bag first,
Right.
and then I'm going to look for the relationship. And the reality
But
is that you
that's
have
not
a lot.
reality.
It's not reality. So when you finish building and doing everything you want somebody
Mm-hmm.
to be tacked on. And a lot of times, if
Mm-hmm.
the person is not vested, it's just like business partners. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not vested, if you're into that venture, it's
Mm-hmm.
easier for you to walk away, right? And
Right.
so
What
because you're waiting, go ahead, and then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I
bring
was going
that.
to say, and that is what happened, unfortunately, to the late Godfather. We all know who that is. As I observed his life, I looked at him, as many have, and I said, "This man is not living in his truth." And I believe you were one who covered how he was not happy. Didn't you do a podcast about that? How he really
Yeah.
wasn't true to himself, and you looked at how he was before in the cologne and the things. He was just a more happier person, and then one of his quote unquote friends was posting all that after he had passed, and I read a post. I don't know if you saw that, but the man said that he worked 17 hours a day, and I said that is a death sentence by itself. How can this man who has friends worked 17 hours a day. I said, no one told him about an assistant. No one told him, hey, let me come in and do some of this. You can't delete yourself because you're trying to make it to the top, which we all respected, his hustle, as we say it. But all the pieces that came together, I said, this is what sent him away and nobody cared. So that's going back to what you're saying. You can't make it to think you're going to make it to the top first and then get the tag alongs. He got the tag along at the end. Died on top of me, color purple. That's ridiculous. That's not somebody who cared. It should have been someone there. But again, I just wonder, are we now okay in existing in what is not real? I'm really confused and I'm really concerned because as I meet people day by day, I realize they want to be there, whether they realize it or not. And I don't have the strength to pull them out. I don't have the time to pull them out because before, going back to what you said with friendships, you would go hand in hand together, right? You would go hand in hand. If you was started from a young age, you would be hand in hand. And in closing, I heard a preacher say one time that he was confused about this new millennial thing. He said because when he was growing up, the person you grew up with and was friends with, you're still friends with them to this day. That's not the case right now because again, I think the people now are okay with existing in what is not real. And so where is that going to take us eventually over time? I don't think to a good place, not from where I'm seeing.
You're absolutely right. It's not going to end well if it
No.
continues in this matter because there isn't real human interaction. um
Yes.
Physical interaction when you can, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you know that friend. I know when you're not doing well. I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
physically, I could come check you, you can come check me.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's in need. Like that disconnect, we think it's okay now because I text the person, or it's okay now, because I saw them signed on social media, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
and that part unfortunately was highlighted. This is all premeditated, this is my thoughts, because it was illustrated in one of the movie again with Sandra Bullock, but this was another movie called The Net. And
The
because
net. Okay.
she was this was early 90s, and because she got sucked into the virtual space, virtual reality, no one knew her in real life.
Oh,
So when
okay. I
they
haven't
erased
seen that.
identity, yeah, that movie is old. But when that's back when I used to watch movies. So and my movie references is always dated. Y'all hardly gonna hear a
Yeah,
new
they are.
movie.
They are.
Yeah, they be like the net a movie that was 1993. Look, now I
I
don't
haven't
be
even
watching.
seen Higher Learning. I don't think I've even seen Higher
What?
Learning.
Okay,
No, I don't
okay.
think I have, but I will.
So
I'll put it on my list.
the higher learning is actually on YouTube for free. But let me say the net, and I'll give a synopsis of higher learning. In that
Okay.
video, is showing that they were able to, or they tried to erase her identity and assign
Mm-hmm.
it to someone else, and they were almost successful because no one knew her in real time. So this is where a lot of
Okay.
people are, where you are living your entire life over the computer. You're not valuing real relationships, right? No one really knows who you are, and people find security in the fact that they can turn on and off their friends, right? And they're not
Mm-hmm.
investing where in real life. In the people,
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
want to invest in 50 real estate properties, and we want to invest in all of these things, but you're not investing in people.
And
The
that's so
greatest investment.
important.
And that is important because at the end of the day, if anything happens to you, who's going to come bring you a glass of water?
Nobody.
You know what I'm saying? If you're not
Nobody.
investing in people. But we have Naasha in the spot. Welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Nayasha. How are you?
I'm fine. Greetings. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Yes, I want also to mention that what I realized is that the whole COVID thing, can I mention the name, also changed the way I saw relationships. In the past,
Mm.
when there was Christmas, I used to be able to go to my parents' home. But after the whole COVID thing started, some of my parents asked me, "You cannot come before you show us if you cannot come to our Christmas party if you're not job, you know. So those things, this is where I realized that family were not that closed, that we were not that tight the way I thought. Even, like it was here in South Africa, that when you wanted to see your parents or someone in a hospital, you needed to show your injection passport. So you could not see your own friends in hospital when they are sick. Even old parents who lived in homes could not see their children, and or their grandchildren if the children are not jabbed. So I think the whole COVID thing have changed the way I saw relationships. Even when if even when I said even when I was talking to my friends, and they're even telling me that because of all those unjabbed people, our country is going down, and for me those unjabbed people should go to hell and die. And when she said that, I said to her, "Excuse me, what?" So when the whole COVID thing started, a lot of friends that I thought were my friends, I let them go. And this is one point. Another point is, I think you are so right. I am a millennium, and I don't have any friends that I can mention now that are so close. Even people who I grew up with, I don't have them that much. The trust is not anymore there. There is this fear of being taken advantage of. Yeah, that's all I wanted to mention. Thank you for giving me this platform.
Yes, always, anytime. And I agree with you that the last 2 years, the pandemic has highlighted, like you're saying, who is who, right? Based on who's susceptible to brainwashing, who you thought you knew, what lengths they would go to. I've seen family members who looked at me like I was a germ. I'm laughing to myself, but I'm like, are y'all serious? Are you serious? And so I agree, it really did show you who is who and what lengths people would go to if they felt that you were threatening them, right? And that's kind of what they allowed, um or what they engineered the pandemic to be, is that it's who against who, vaccinated against unvaccinated. This person's existence is threatening your existence, and it was a plan, and I think to some degree it worked. You know what I mean? Because it was able to break people apart. But in different parts in time, you had similar things where smallpox was going on, or the black plague was going on, or tuberculosis is ripping through the place. And you had those similar things where family members are torn apart, friends are torn apart because one has and one doesn't. So it was something to experience. I would have to agree with you on that one. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. I'm not going to stay long today, but I was just thinking about millennials. Are they thirsty? Is it their fault? Do they have unrealistic expectations? Have they been like we were to a certain degree latchkey, and many who came after us was of that latchkey generation where the television grew us up. And I think the television kind of, if you were put in front of the TV to kind of entertain you, that was the beginning of this one-way conversation, right? But
Yeah.
even the ability, right? Only Cosby Show could talk to you. If you talk back, then he didn't hear you. But that kind of bled
Well,
over
in
into the.
those
Go ahead.
though in those movies and those, especially those sitcoms like Martin and stuff, it gave us a one way view of thinking, and you couldn't reject it. You couldn't say,
Right.
well, I don't agree with that part, or nah.
Right.
And it became, just like you mentioned, higher learning and all these other because we're most of us are black on here, shows that was targeted towards us. You didn't have, it's a one-way thing. So this became your reality. And I'm a 90s kid. So growing up in the 90s, it's like I seen a bunch of stuff that was absolutely ridiculous. But how can
Yeah.
I fight against it? What can I say against it? That's the way it was. And again, maybe it was done on purpose, but I saw how it affected us. I saw how it in some way ruined us. And again, like you said, brought us to this point where we are today. I think it
Yeah.
was planned out that way,
It
honestly,
was.
because think about
Yeah.
it. Our group is, I'm not saying we're the main group affected, but it's exacerbated. Everything is exacerbated for us. I mean, the highest this, the highest that, and that is what gave these YouTube streets the fuel that they need to keep our names in their mouths, because we are the highest and the most affected. In the area that I live in, I'm seeing people getting married and things all the time. No, they're not my color, but I'm seeing it. So I'm saying, why aren't these other groups being so highly affected like us? And that lets me know these things were set up. And because of some of those things that have not been worked out within us from way, way, way back then, it is now they use that as leverage to pour in some poison, knowing that it was going to take all of us out like the Native Americans. And
Yeah,
that's why we're here right now.
and
No
that's the
friends, nobody
right.
to talk to. I'm like not Nyasha. COVID, COVID took the few I had. I'm down to really like one right now, like literally one. And she just graduated from nursing
Wow.
school, so it's like we barely get to see each other, barely get to talk, barely. And then COVID again put that wedge there, just naturally so, because, nursing school and just the contamination that she moved away. But it's like that really opened up my eyes. I'm sorry to say, but keeping it straight, just how fake people are, how people just keep you around. And myself, you only want me around because you see a level of usury and you see something in me that you don't have. Or if you do have it, you're not willing to give. I'm more willing to give it unconditionally. So it's like, hey, sign her up for it. And as soon as COVID hit, I saw a different light of people. Now I'm getting the side eye. Now I see the evil eye in people, which I already knew was there, but it really got exposed because COVID put an axe to it. It severed ties because of the situation. It was nothing you can do. You couldn't make yourself go out of your way. And then as soon as I couldn't anymore, the sever was there on purpose. The wall was put up really by the Most High himself. Now it's an issue. Now I'm seeing who you really, really are. But I'm just praying personally. This is something that I personally pray for myself, that I do get to experience real interpersonal relationships in my life, even at my age. And of course, I'm not ancient or anything, but as long as where I'm at now, from henceforth, that I want and desire real interpersonal relationships. And one more thing, I say to myself, I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but the one regret that I have is that I didn't know how, I was not taught, and I didn't have the skills to build real interpersonal relationships. Because again, by my time, we already had those TV shows out that had that one way communication that was feeding to other people, teaching them how to be. And because I didn't want to be that type of girl, 90s girl, roundaway girl, or whatever, I'm automatically put on the back burner, put on the sideline. So I'm missing out on the quote unquote fun, but it benefited me as far as now. But I didn't make those relationships that I wish I would have made when I was younger.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Wow.
There's a lot to this conversation. And I appreciate the way that it is blossoming, because it does go beyond uh man and woman relationships. This is
Mm-hmm.
relationships across the board, and the key word
Mm-hmm.
in relationships is relate. We do
Yes.
not know how to relate to one another. We do, because
Yes.
we, to a certain degree, we're not able to be vulnerable, um
Yes.
because we fear people being fake, or people hurting us, or people taking advantage. And that's a trauma response, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what, when you see a lot of people, it was sad. There was a young couple on YouTube. A lot of people who kind of make it big in social media, what I've observed, and is a lot of these personalities that's very open and vulnerable, as we're saying earlier, is because in their everyday real life, they're not that person. And it's kind of safe to do it in a way where you control the narrative, right? And so there was this one girl, she was pregnant at like 16 years old, this European girl, and she married the young guy, and they were young, and they got millions of followers on YouTube, and he's in depression, and he's in, till he actually, it was all on the news, he actually took himself out and left her to raise their two children, because what you're seeing, what everybody is feeding into, what everybody is clicking on, although it may be entertaining, it's coming at someone else's expense. You know what I'm
And
saying?
that's pretty sad. I think you told us about that story
Yeah, I
before.
told that story
That was
before.
pretty
Yeah.
sad.
And so, but that it's not just one place I see it on a continuum. There is kind of a formula. So when you are talking about accountability and you're talking about self-reflection and you're talking about all those things, they're not as, I guess, glamorous. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are just on the wavelength that they are. So, it is what it is. But oh yeah, so the synopsis real quick of, hey Judah, what's going on? If you haven't seen Higher Learning, essentially it was looking at a school. It was a fictional school called Columbus, where you had melanated people, you had people, all diverse people going to this college and having a college experience, but each group was experiencing college in a very different way. And the
Hmm.
young ones, the freshmen, interfaced with the older ones, and they gravitated to what issues. So essentially, one guy gravitates to becoming a skinhead. The other one gravitates to becoming, a hoe-tepping type of thing. It's very interesting. It
Okay.
is. It's all in the movie. I'm like, wait a minute, that was in the movie. I don't remember
That's pretty
that
deep.
in the movie, but
Like
it's
the
in there.
hotels, the hotels go back, don't they?
No, they do. So that was, he was like, hi, yeah, man. All of that's in the movie, but it does have a message. But I also see how they planted a lot of seeds, like you said, that
Uh-huh.
led to where we are now. And so, what was I gonna say?
I have
I
a, I
thought,
have a I have a comment.
go
Okay,
ahead.
going back to what you said, it planted seeds to where we are now. Have you noticed, or have you noticed or heard people say they're stuck in the 80s, they're stuck in the 70s, they're stuck in the 90s? I actually had to explain to my kids like what a pimp was and Superfly and all
Mhm,
those, because those references will come up in songs or movies and things like that. And now I wasn't born back then, but as I watched some of the clips and things, I said, this is where people got these demeanors from. This
mhm,
is where they got these stances from and these walks from. Martin, because the kids sometimes will look at the clips of Martin of Jerome, and they were
mhm,
like, where did this come from? So I had to
mhm,
be like, well, where did this come from? And then we went down the yellow brick road of
mhm.
the pimp and Superfly and the songs, and I was just like, wow, this really set in the hearts of the men and the women from back then. What we
Yeah,
call whole culture, that came from back then, and it's almost like once it's set in our hearts, you can't erase it. I mean, outside of God helping you, you can't. It's like you can't erase it. Did you see the story of the woman who got caught in the bed with her daughter's
yeah, I saw
baby
that. I
daddy?
didn't have an
So
opportunity to come through. Yeah,
okay, so but did you see her demeanor? And
yeah,
I bet you if you check this woman's history and listen and watch, ask her what she's been watching, what's the music she's been taking in, and it's probably all of that stuff that encourages whoredoms and encourages taking your man and being a
yeah.
bad bee and all this, even at her age. So it's like she can't even let it go. She can't even mature from it. And that tells you how strong these lyrics are, how strong these images are in setting the idea of who we are, the image of who we are, like the twerculating senator, but we ain't gonna go there.
Oh gosh, yeah. But in addition to what you're saying, when we were, and I agree. In addition to that, the when you talk about Martin and you talk about TikTok right now and Facebook, where a lot of
Hmm.
the men find it very natural to put on women's clothes, even though it
Ooh,
was
I saw
happening
that.
before Martin. Martin was the one that in recent time made he had a whole character that was reoccurring, that people who were growing up, and it's on reruns now, they would say,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that." So you see, and you see
Hmm.
Spanish, and you see melanated, and you see European, and you see all of these men very
Hmm.
okay, very comfortable
Hmm.
with playing the woman for
Ain't that
jokes and
something?
laughs. Yeah.
But
And I'm like,
but
well,
that.
why is it, why? Because when you look back, you had Steve
Hmm.
Urkel, and I had shared it here on the channel, where
Hmm.
the producers of Family Matters tried to encourage him to put the dress and become I forgot the name of the character that he
I
played.
forgot her. Yeah.
And the other elders were telling him, "Yo, what are you doing? You don't what do you don't need to do this." Right? But
Wow. And he was
some
such a young
way,
boy.
and he was such a young boy when they
Hmm.
introduced this to him. So what we're seeing
Hmm.
now is the fruit of
The fruit.
that type of the Flip Wilsons and the Martin
Hmm.
Lawrences and even Eddie
Hmm.
Murphy when what was that? Not Coming to America, when him and Arsenio Hall dressed up like the women.
Oh yeah, I
It's
forgot about that part. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
forgot about
yeah.
that one. And
So
and
so
and and
yeah.
you ought to do a look at. Me and my daughter have actually sat down and looked at the Shanae character, and that woman, quote unquote, used to dog Gina and Pam. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about their clothing, their hair, their bodies, just and it was one time when she was trying to get in that exclusive club. Do you remember that episode where Shanae and her little friend, your ghetto friend, was trying to get into this little exclusive woman's club, and so
Mm-hmm.
they busted up in there,
Yes, I
and
remember.
yeah,
I remember. I
and was
remember.
like, Shanae, they turned the party out. Remember that "Turned the Mother Out" song?
Right,
They
right. I
turned the
remember. I
party
remember.
out and talking about some Tootsie Roll, and
Yes.
Shanae was like, "Oh, you want a thug, don't you?" And and she was like, she told the director of the women's club that that Gina was living with her boyfriend, and Shanae said, I don't approve, and I don't approve of it. And my daughter was like, but that's being a hypocrite. And I said, there you go. And then these same men and the women too are trying to tell you how to live, trying to give you advice in this YouTube streets, but they themselves are hypocrites. So these things have been set as a precedence a
Oh yeah.
long, 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 long,
Long
long,
time
long
ago.
time ago. I
Yep.
mean, if you actually have time to just go on YouTube and listen to the things Shanae used to say, like, I'm gonna bust you in your eye, and
Right. Right.
I'm the violence, the
Right.
violence that I'm gonna drop kick you, and then
Right.
do it with the action
Right.
of aggression. What spirit is attached to that? And that is why, again, going back to relationships, I like to watch documentaries of like African tribes, and I said that's something that we are missing. Back
Mm.
then, you had in your tribe, women were with women, men were with men. That was not nothing that was looked down upon. It was building of relationships. And now,
Right.
guess what? You can, like I said, me, I can count one relationship on one hand as a female. How is that even normal? But go into an Indian group, go to white people, Mexicans, you're not going to see it. It's only with us because that is how they've said it. Again, I don't have outright proof. I don't have the book on it, but I just find it funny that we are the most affected. Those other groups are still intact. I live by them. I see it. And so we have to, personally, my personal advice, what I did is you have to use discernment, and you have to know what to look for. Now, I'm not going to mention some of the things that I set as a standard for myself in personal relationships, but I will say I use the Bible as it. And I think that's one of the things that people are using. They say, oh, that Bible just, that doesn't matter. And you yourself, who has a standard that even God himself has put in you, they now want you to lower that standard, but then you'll go into these relationships and you'll still end up feeling lonely and wasting your time. It's just not worth it.
Well. Hey, look, there's a lot going on. This conversation, like I said, hopefully we get something from it. There's so much to consider, especially if you're out here, lonely, don't feel as though you can really connect. It's an opportunity to find out what's going on. Like when we moved to and my children remember it to this day, when we moved to before this last time, we moved into a new neighborhood, but it was an older neighborhood, so we had older neighbors. And the elder man, he had to be in like his 70s, a European man. He introduced himself because he's from another time, right? Which is what you would do. He brought some cherry tomatoes that he was growing into his yard, and he's like, welcome to the neighborhood, and if you ever need anything, I'm your neighbor, I live across the street, right? In today's space and time, why are you in my face? What do you want? You know what I mean? We we are disconnected from even knowing who lives next door, um, who lives around the corner. I have one guy where we are now. Um, every time he walks his dog, every time he walks his dog, and you pass, if it's day or night, he's waving. Every single time, he's waving. Right? It's just to show that, hey, interpersonal relationships as we go and as we come should not just be
Mm-hmm.
reserved for the person that we like way across the country. If you go into your supermarket and you see somebody every day, you're not going to take them home with you, but do you smile? Do you wave? Are you personable? Because some of us don't have good relationships because we're not approachable and we're not personable.
Right. I'm sorry for laughing. I'm sorry for laughing because the state that I moved from one state to another, and the first thing I noticed was everybody waved. Like they was just like, and I'm looking like, this is weird. Hold on now. I'm used to it now though.
Right. Everybody, yes, I can listen. When I used to live in New York, I made it a point because, first of all, let me rewind. I used to be the most, what they say, mean mugging, screw face looking person. If you guys see me today, you'll be like, no, not a Muna, right?
Right.
And then as I grew more mature, um, I'm telling you, my friends used to be like, my goodness, you mean. But as I grew more mature in New York, I would say good morning to everybody. New York is a place where you smiling at somebody, they looking like, why are you smiling? If I come to the bus stop and I see you, I would say good morning. I don't know that I'm gonna pass you today. For instance, I'll give an instance. Today I went to Walmart to go get some stuff. A lady was in front of me. She had a book bag on. Okay.
Okay.
And the back part, the little zip that was open, and her
Mm-hmm.
phone was standing up in it in such a way that somebody could just walk up on her and snatch it out her backpack. She wouldn't even
Mm.
know. So I tapped her and I was like, "Excuse me, miss, your phone is hanging out your book bag." Because
Yeah.
that's, for me, that's the human thing to do, right? I go
Right.
about my business, minding my business. I, do you know? And I was in there for a minute. By the end of my shopping visit, I didn't see the lady the whole time. The little self checkout. They got us working at Walmart now. I need my check
Yeah,
because I.
basically.
Right. Who do I see right at the very kiosk I'm about to go to? Now, what if I, instead of doing a good gesture, like
Mm-hmm.
was nasty to the lady? What if I cut her off in the parking lot? You know what I mean? And now I got to
Mm-hmm.
see her again at the checkout. My point is, if we can, whatever efforts that we make on a daily basis, we would allow ourselves or put forth the energy that's going to attract the right type of people to us. But if we've been injured and we attract the negative type of people, this explains why the relationship becomes imbalanced and why we still feel lonely in them, because we're attracting the people in our brokenness. So my point is, just simple good deeds would open us up to meeting people who we can actually believe that somebody is another decent individual out there. You understand? It's all
Right.
about how we think of each other. Like, if we always like, oh, the person has an objective, oh, the person has an agenda, you know what I mean? Then we're gonna meet those type of people. Let me see here.
Right.
But with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank you, Diamond, for coming through and rocking with the
Thank you. Thank you for
discussion.
having me. Yeah. I try to catch you. You just jump on there. I just happen to be
Y'all
sitting
know,
down
y'all
watching
know,
a movie.
y'all know my days are like, today I had to run, then I made some pumpkin soup, and then I just jump on, and then I don't have any set schedule right now. So thank everybody who just rolls with it. But yeah, essentially, millennials, my heart goes out to you guys, man, and those who come
Yeah.
after, like my children's generation. I try to take them off the computer, let you interface in real time, because if you get too safe in these devices, you won't know how to really connect with humans. You got to
Right.
know how to connect. You got to learn how to kind of have just even a simple conversation, not just like,
Right.
how you doing, how do you like the weather? If somebody's talking, actually listen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even be
Good
listening.
point.
People be like in their phone. Like, I see them at the table, the other person is talking, and they
In the
laughing at the
phone.
phone.
Mm-hmm. That's rude. That's actually rude.
That is rude.
Yeah, it's very rude.
The
But
person
the
is
but but
looking
the
at
fact that we can't disengage, something is wrong in the brain.
it is.
You
It's
should
the
be able
pleasure.
to disengage from that.
No, some people cannot even look you in your eye. When, like, I'm the type of person, maybe my children think I'm a bit, I'd be like, look at me when you're talking to me, like
Mm-hmm.
in my eye. I want to see who I'm talking to.
Yes,
You,
very important.
it's
The
very
eyes are
important.
the window to the soul, so that's
Oh,
very important.
so I want to see who I'm talking to. You looking, all in the phone and you're not paying attention and you're not trying to have a conversation right now.
Right.
You know, and parents do that to their children too. You
Yes.
know,
Mm-hmm.
mommy, look what I did. Oh, that's nice. And blah, 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 blah. Ha, ha. Looking at some random child's thing on the computer. Oh, this is so cute. Let me share it on my Facebook. And your child just ran up to you and you didn't even have 2 seconds to say, oh, talk to me. What's going on? So not only is it affecting man and woman relationships or it's also affecting parent-child relationships. I don't
Right.
remember if you guys remember this one time this lady was on Facebook and she forgot her child in the bath or some madness like that.
Okay,
And
I
it's
don't know
like,
if I remember
yeah,
that.
that was a while ago. And it's like,
Oh
what?
gosh.
You was on
Well,
Facebook.
well, you heard the ones about people gaming for forever and a day, and the baby dies. That's Yeah,
Yeah.
they have that in China a lot in these Asian countries. They just had a baby and they're so hooked into the games. The games just they'll find out the baby died, dehydration, whatever,
Oh
you
my
know.
Crazy.
God.
So people are really they can't disengage. They're engaged to the point they can't disengage. But that goes back to again the technology issue that we're having right now.
And there have been studies, and there are studies, I don't want to bore you, but there are studies on technology being like a drug. I think I went over it on here.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like getting dopamine hit, the immediate
Yes.
response, putting people in depression, giving people anxiety. I think
Mhm.
there was like a documentary out of like Kenya, and it followed social media light, and it explored the ways in which social media affected her mentally. So,
Mhm.
and the young lady who died, we still don't know how she really died. The what was she, Miss America, Miss USA, a few
Yes, Miss. Yeah.
earlier this year,
Mhm.
remember her? Right.
Yeah.
And she's
Mhm.
all looking nice and decent on social
Hmm.
media, and then you high functioning depressed. What I'm saying is, stay woke, man.
Yeah.
This is we can connect. It can be a beautiful thing, but it can
Mhm.
also be a dangerous thing. And
Mhm.
let's not neglect ourselves in real time because
Yes. Good point.
we're trying to fit into this social media. So this is what, there's one more thing. This lady, I think I talked about it. She followed social media. She was on TikTok. She followed social media influencers and ended up homeless because they glorified the nomadic van life, and
Mm.
now she's living out of her van with no steady job, and she's homeless because she was following these millennial conversations on social media. So it's
Okay.
having real life effects when people see
Mhm.
only the flashy part that you're showing them, make $1,000 in one
Yeah.
day and do all of these other things, but they're not showing you
Mhm.
the back. They're not showing you the backstage,
Mhm.
right? And then they fall apart, and then you're like, well, whatever happened to you? And then they have to come and tell you it's not always what it seems. So this
Wow.
particular lady, she ended up homeless. I don't know. It's crazy out in these streets. Like, what?
Mhm.
Van
Well,
life?
I like what you said as far as taking care of ourselves in reality. For those of us who are on here, even myself, that's something that I strive for, and especially in relationships, is this is what we're talking about. We do need to try to make an effort to build relationships, like you said, speaking to someone, being more open. Don't be mean mugging like you
Right.
know, remember the mean mug back in the day.
Yep.
I actually have a unibrow that I pluck now, thank God. So imagine the mean mug I had as a younger person, not knowing about that plucking. So I felt you on that story. But I'm better
Yeah.
today. I'm better today.
The
But
better.
people used to say the
Hallelujah.
same.
Yes.
Huh? You said
Hallelujah.
yes, thank God, because I had that mean mug. I mean, it was so evident in me. And when I was like in the seventh grade, we had to bring baby pictures. Everybody said, "That's Crystal. That is Crystal right there." Because I had the mean mug even as a baby. It was like evident. So
Oh
I
my
feel you on that one. But I'm on a personal journey to build better. true better relationships. You know, how I'm going to achieve that, I don't know, but I do believe that God will supply, because I think that I will make a good friend. I have made a good friend. Now, it's been one of those one-way situations, but I believe that'll change, you know, going into the future.
And just simple things in meeting friends, or acquaintances who can become friends, is just
Hmm.
by doing new activities, whatever
Yes.
interests you, because friends bond over similarities. So we
Hmm.
meet them at school because we're all at school, and then you do cheerleading, and so does she, and then you know what I'm saying. So now you
Hmm.
became friends. So friends bond over the things that they like to do. So the more we
Right.
go into spaces and do the things that we like to do, is the more
Right.
likely that you won't have to convince a friend to go and
Hmm.
whatever, go and ski, go and like my son likes here he comes. He must have heard me. I said my son, and he pops out. I'm coming. I'm coming. My son likes to do. I'm no wait. He likes to do tennis, and so we go to the tennis court, and then I see all these older women on tennis teams, two and
Okay.
two. So now, because all of them like tennis, they come out together. They say, "Hey, let's play some tennis," or maybe they go have their coffee or their tea or whatever, and now they're
Yes.
bonding over whatever it is they like. So I
Right.
would say there's a site named Meetup, and it's all over, and it has
Yes.
activities, whether it be cooking, whether it be sewing, whether it be knitting, whatever. Bingo.
Okay.
My mother-in-law, she loves bingo, so she
Okay.
stay at bingo. I'm like, yo, you stay at bingo, yo.
She might
So
be addicted now. She ain't addicted, is she? You know the little number on the back of the scratch offs. You might need to call that. Do you have a problem? I'm like,
she's
come on
like,
now.
I'm going to bingo. I'm like, my merciful father. But my point being, if you go to activities that you like doing, then you may find somebody who also likes doing said
Mm-hmm.
activity.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
that just helps, opens up to, like, I'm not a person who changes friends a lot. Like, I've
Okay.
known some people for 20 plus 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
um New ones are kind of, you know what I mean, touch and go, because you're
Touch and
like,
go.
where you,
Right.
yeah, you like, where you came from, who your mama and daddy, I ain't never been to your house, you know what I'm saying, what you look like when
Mm-hmm.
you was little. It's kind of difficult, but it's doable.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Good advice. Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. um yeah, shout out to the millennials, man. I feel it for you guys. It's tough out here. A Netflix and chill will have your relationship over.
Over with. Don't do it. Don't do it, please.
Don't do it. If somebody calls you on the phone asking you if you want a Netflix and chill, it's a setup, it's a TikTok video. Don't say yes. These guys, I'm like, why do y'all keep saying yes? How silly can you be?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the
That's her best.
information's out there.
Is this, yeah, we can Netflix and chill. Like, they're willing to just throw relationships away because they don't value it. That's the only thing I could
Mm-hmm.
come up with. You don't value it. So
Yeah.
with that said, everybody have a blessed day. I
You
was
too.
supposed to do
Thank you.
Marvin today, but we're gonna come back and
Next
do
time.
Marvin. All right.
All right. Y'all
All
take
right.
care.
Everybody bless.
Bye.